All right, we are live on Las Vegas Triathlon Club Facebook page, and we are recording. I'm John Mercer, president of the Las Vegas Triathlon Club. I've got Bob Gamble, ambassador of the Tri Club. Hey, Bob, how's it going?
We're going wonderful, thank you.
Awesome.
Back
Another Thursday evening and another spotlight for the club tonight. And tonight we're going to do a coaches spotlight with Chip Henry. Hey, Chip, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Oh, doing good. It's a nice Thursday. Now, I'll just give a little background. And Chip and I have actually known each other for quite some time. And we met years ago when we at UNLV tried to do a marathon science series, something like that. And I remember Chip came to those and he started asking me questions. And I had been doing a lot of research on running at that time. And he started asking me questions and I'm like, man, there's so much I don't know. And it really struck me that, some of the science that I was doing wasn't necessarily applicable to the runner, or it was the little different questions that the runners wanted to know the answers to. And so that's where I actually backed off and really started trying to listen a bit more. And so it's really neat to circle back around and talk with Chip again tonight about triathlon and his coaching experience and his triathlon experience. So we're going to tap into that, but I'm going to turn the mic and camera over to Bob Gamble to do the official introduction.
Well, we'll make sure that I've got the mic on. Yeah, we're here with Chip Henry, and one of the things that makes Chip interesting to have on the interviews, and something I'm looking forward to, is Chip is quite an athlete as well as a coach, and he's done 5 Ironman. He can talk the talk and walk the walk, and he brings his athleticism experience into the coaching. So this is something that I think it's going to be fun talking to him about. But Chip has been doing triathlons for 10 years, and he's been with the club for 10 years. He's one of the original members of the club. So he's like I said, a foundational member, and we're going to find out a lot about him that I don't even know myself. So one of the things we're going to start doing is asking Chip some questions. And Chip, just getting started, what prompted you to do a triathlon 10 years ago? Just curious.
Well, I started 20 years ago running, basically jumped right into marathons. And then I just seen a lot of people doing triathlon. And then I was just watching NBC Kona Hawaii Ironman. And then I was hooked. And then
I'm there. I got to do that.
I got to do it. So then I just started out on a small sprint. I did a sprint, Olympic, half Ironman. That's how it went.
You mean just one of each? One sprint, one Olympic?
Yeah,
wow.
One of each and the big one.
And what was the progression between when you did your first sprint to your Ironman? Just curious.
It was probably a couple years. It was my first sprint was a wake-up call, because I did it on a 40-year-old mountain bike, that I had from back east when I was a kid. And it was hard. It was tough on the sprint, but I was hooked. And then I just got in. I did the Olympic like the following season, and then I did Silverman. I was always a glutton for punishment. I went right into Silverman, and then I did Coeur d'Alene. So it was basically from Silverman to Coeur d'Alene was about 9 months. So, and I wasn't my best for Coeur d'Alene. I mean, I was a newbie, but yeah. So good stuff.
And your strength you came from a running background then, so that you actually had a leg up. You had done marathons before.
Yeah, I started out, jumped right into marathons basically. I did a couple 5Ks, a couple different Las Vegas Track Club races, and then a guy I worked with, he was doing marathons at the time, and when I started with him, I could barely run around the block. I mean, I was gagging. I walked up I ran up like a 1% incline for like maybe a 1/10 of a mile, and I was calling that Hamburg Hill. And he was an ex-professional boxer, and he's going around, he's just laughing at me, Hamburg Hill, Hamburg Hill. And this is like 22 years ago, and I was so out of shape. And then he said, "You're going to do a marathon next year." And I was like, "What's a marathon?" 26.2 miles. And I said, "Yeah, right. You're crazy. There's no way." Next year I was at Catalina doing a marathon.
That is so good to hear, that the fact that you, as incredible of an athlete as you are, you struggled when you first got started, and it was hard. It was difficult. And
I didn't do anything until I was 32 years old. I mean, I did weights because I was a skinny kid in high school, and I lifted, and then I didn't do any kind of cardio until I was 32.
And if anybody is watching this, it's that, I mean, who is getting started like this, it's wonderful to hear somebody like you say that it took some time, just take some time and patience to get that aerobic conditioning up to where you can do this kind of stuff. It doesn't come overnight.
Oh,
And your body has to make some interesting changes.
First 2 years, there was nobody. There was a few people out there. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do, how to do it. I just went out and I ran myself into the ground. I literally overtrained, ran myself into the ground, thinking that this is the way you get better. So back to the coaching, that's one of the reasons I took it. And that's why I do it.
So while we're on that topic, John, I mean, jump in if you want to, but if you can, but while we're on that topic about getting started, and you realize that you were running yourself into the ground, overtraining, which is what 95% of the starting out triathletes do. I did it myself. That's why I got so many surgeries and injuries. You know, starting off easy, what can you tell new triathletes and new endurance athletes about what it takes to build that aerobic base and why it's so important?
If they have no base, so when I came into triathlon, obviously I grew up a little bit. I had 10 years, 11 years of marathon training and marathon running. So I knew the game a little bit. I knew how to pace myself. I knew how to back off. And through the Just Run group that I work for, they're always having mostly people coming off the couch in their 30s, 40s, kind of like I was. And I see them doing what I did, and I just pull them back and I say, look, it's not about what's anaerobic right now. You want what's anaerobic right now to become aerobic. And then I kind of just try to plant a seed, and I let them know that you really got to build a base. You really have to work on your base aerobic performance before you can really jump to the anaerobic, because then you're just skipping a whole energy system, which we don't want to do. You want to teach that energy system to build.
Yeah, it took me a long time to get that. The energy system does not build up if you are working too hard. And if you're anaerobic, it's just not going to happen. So if you got to force yourself to keep yourself low, right? You keep your heart rate.
Zone 2.
Yeah. I want to just jump back to your first race, and then you did some other races after that. But how soon after that did you say, okay, I want to get into coaching? I know you've always been a student of physiology, and you've always wanted to learn that. So when did you transition from saying, okay, I'm going to focus on training, to now I want to focus on helping someone?
So basically it's been a long road. So I've been doing it for 22 years and then some, but basically probably about 2 or 3 years after I realized I want to coach.
Yeah.
But there's a learning curve. I wasn't just going to jump in and say, hey, I'm a coach. I ran 2 marathons, and I don't have a background of a college or anything like that, but I'm basically a sponge where I read everything that would come my way. And I just always knew I wanted to coach. So 10 years later is about when I started getting some certificates and RRCA, AFA, National Federation of Professional Trainers. And I just rode with it and just started taking people pro bono.
Oh, that's great. So and that's what I wanted to know too, is how you got into the knowledge content of coaching. So you went through some different organizations to get those certifications.
Yeah, at first it was a personal trainer. I mean, that was lifting was my first love, and personal training was my first love. And then I was kind of torn between bodybuilding and lifting, and then the cardio. And then the cardio just took over. The endurance sports won out. And so I just went that route. But I attained some personal training, then running certificates, and I went about it that way. So
that's great. And then, there's so much going on out there in the world of how to train someone. How do you find yourself staying current with all that news?
So there's so much stuff out there. It's so convoluted that I kind of fell off the wagon. So like when you first met me, when you said I was kind of throwing some stuff at you, for that first 5 years, every little thing I could see is like, my wife will tell you, I'd walk in a bookstore, I got to buy that book. And she goes, you're not done reading the one you got. And I said, but I will, and I want to read this one. So I just kept reading. Mostly I love to read because it's got some kind of background, it's proven. But I don't like a lot of podcasts out there or a lot of fads. I want it to be proven science. So I get a lot from
good for you. Good for you.
So, I mean, there's a lot of fads out there.
There's a lot, and you got to sift through it. So again, knowing that you're a student of the area, how do you train do you educate your athletes that way? How do you communicate to them the knowledge, or do you mostly just focus on the training part?
Um, it depends on the individual. I consider myself, so I've had coaches in the past, from other areas of the country, online, and I just realized that I wasn't going to do what some coaches did do, and I was going to give them everything to get them to the cheater goal. If it had to happen, if I knew they weren't going to meet their nutrition, I've seen some programs where it went from 200 to 500 for nutrition and everything else. And I said, no, if I'm going to have an athlete, I'm going to give them everything. I mean, I wasn't, maybe I was doing a little more than I should have, but I wanted to give them the nutrition. I wanted to give them the weather. I wanted to give them everything that is involved in a race. Because like I said, I'm mostly a beginner. So I would give them just about everything that they needed to succeed.
Oh.
So
That's awesome. And I think that, that personal touch, I mean, that's what coaching, that's a big part of it. And like you said, there's a lot of coaching programs out there that deal with lots of people, but having that one-on-one access to a coach it can be really valuable.
And then there's something that impressed me about what you just said is, for one thing, it's all interrelated. You can't separate the nutrition from your workouts, and you need to work on both of them at the same time. And then one thing that I remember when you did the VO2 max for me, a while ago, you didn't just tell me what to do, but you told me why. I was just getting started. It was like, you work out at this rate, at this heart rate, don't go above it, because it does this to your body and it does this to your muscles. And so it's really important that you covered, what to do, the nutrition of it, and why you're doing it at the same time. So that's important.
Yep.
So you're still doing the VO2 max?
yeah, I am. Well, with COVID, no. It's been kind of stopped for a while since March. I mean, people are already wearing masks. They don't want to put my mask on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Well, maybe talk a little bit about how you've been coaching your athletes during this COVID-19 year.
It progressed. When it first started, it was mainly through text, through either online or through text or emails. Then basically, as we started opening up a little bit, phase 1, phase 2, I started going back out with some of them, either swim, bike, run, or even hikes. I've been hiking a lot, but I basically been just trying to get back into what I've done before, and that's be with them more one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
It's opening up now, so it's getting a little better.
No, that's great. And we were talking a little bit ahead of time in terms of software that you use to communicate with your athletes, and which software platforms do you tend to use with your athletes?
Like I said, I like Garmin Connect a lot. That's mainly what I fall back on. Also Strava. They all have their good points. They all have their good feedback peaks, but mostly Garmin Connect is where I go. It's what I use and it's what I like. So.
Well, that's good. I mean, you're working with the data and talking with them, and you got to combine those two pieces of information, that subjectiveness of talking with them and also the objectiveness of some of the data. How do you combine those two worlds?
It's a daily basis with my athletes. I'm on them daily for a lot of different reasons, and I'll actually look at their workout, take what they did, and then I'll ask them, so was it a little too hot for you? Did you sleep last night? I look at their heart rate, and I could basically tell a lot of things with something's going on. I could see that something's not right, something's not jiving. And a lot of times it's due to the heat in the summertime or anywhere along those lines. And then I just work it into what's their next workout and where they're going to go out of that.
While you're on that topic, what is it that what data do you collect from them? You collect their morning heart rate, their workout heart rate, and what all data do you grab?
I try to educate them because it gets convoluted where I'm trying to get everything. So because there's so much to it, because heart rate, a lot of people don't like heart rate. I love heart rate. It doesn't lie.
Mhm.
So I've been giving their morning heart rates. I like them to keep track of their, like a pulsometer with if their oxygen levels below 96, and their heart rates maybe 5, 10 beats higher. Maybe they need to tell me, something's up, and then maybe back off for a day or two or see where it's going. But I try to educate them to take care of their morning resting heart rate. But then you could also see if their heart rate's not getting up for a given workout, they might be on the verge of overtraining in that sense as well. If I see a little cardiac drift, if it's going from they began their workout and it's not hot out, they might be a little detraining. After that, if they're doing some interval workouts and I can see their heart rate spike, I want to see that it's coming back down to where it was when they started. So usually tell them that if once you see it not coming back, like say their heart rate's 140 and they go out and they do a 1 minute repeat, and then it comes back down to 140 and it went up to 155, and then they're doing 10 of them. If it only comes back down to like 152, I say it's over, it's done. You're overdoing it now. So I kind of use it along those lines. With the nutrition aspect of it and the heart rate were the two things that grabbed me when I first started this. And because I felt if you didn't have the nutrition side of it, you had nothing. You couldn't do endurance events if you didn't have the nutrition. So I just became a sponge on everything I could learn about nutrition. And then I realized that the nutrition and the heat and the training and the running and as fast as you could go for a marathon or a half marathon, if you went above a threshold, a certain heart rate. So I put those two together and it just became my model. That's how I look at my athletes. How's your nutrition? How'd your training go for that day?
I got two follow-up questions based on that. What kind of nutrition data did you collect from them? How much information do they give you on what they're eating every day?
Again, that depends on the athlete. Sometimes I know the athlete is on keel. I don't have to worry about the nutrition. They already have it down. Otherwise, you're not supposed to, unless an actual nutritional advice. Try to just go along the lines of, if it's race, it pertains to pre-race. It's going to be everything that you need for the race day. It's going to be pre-race, race, post-race. If it's in the training, see, that's a hard topic with me right now, because I also finding out as I get older, I'm leaning towards keto. So that's a different topic, a different discussion for a different day. Yeah. So the typical athlete is not going to be keto. They're going to want the carbs. So I try to tell them it's sugar, watch your sugars, and you only really need the sugars when you need it. If you're overweight, you're trying to lose weight, if you're going to eat sugars during the day, it's not going to work. You're not going to lose the weight. So I try to give them complex carbohydrates. I break the macros down for periodization is where they're at in their training. In the high peak of an Ironman training, they need 3,500 calories. If they're after the Ironman and they're in transition, they probably need 24. So I break it down in macros, and it all depends on the individual, what their goals are, and where they're at. There's no cookie cutter approach to it. It can't be that way. It's impossible.
I love it. I mean, you're just spewing out a ton of information. This is really, you're giving away your secret sauce here.
I do that a lot, and then nobody hires me.
Well, and I can see it. I can see the love of the science part of it coming out in you, and I even see this algorithm that you're going through in terms of tying all these really difficult concepts together, and you're making it work for people. And I love it. That's fantastic. Now I want to switch gears just a little bit to a slightly different topic. And, building a community is always important, and you have a community of athletes. So how do you build that community of athletes that you work with?
Again, that's individual a lot of times, to where it depends on the athlete, but the community I love to build right now is because I know where I came from. Mm-hmm. I was in a bad way for 10 years after high school, up until I started getting with the person when I was 32. I was on a bad road, and he had changed my life. And that's probably a good reason why I got into coaching, and the community he built within myself and the people we had that boxed. He was a boxer. We boxed in his garage. And I just seen that the person he was, I seen how he just changed me. And I wanted to do that with other people. So through the Just Run, through my training company, I want those people to change for the better. I want those people to change their lifestyle. So whether they have diabetes, whether they have high blood pressure, whatever it may be, I want them to achieve their goals, and I want to welcome them into our fold, basically. Like whether it's triathlon, whether it's running, whatever it may be, come into our fold, learn the lifestyle, see how this goes, and maybe change one addiction for another. I mean, it worked for me.
That's fantastic. And what a great message.
And the fact that it's a lifestyle and not just an addendum, the training onto their life. It's like either the workouts and the nutrition and the support of each other. It is a lifestyle. It's not something that's extra.
Exactly. If you want to perform at a decent level, it's a lifestyle, without a doubt. And if you want to just be healthy and bring it into your older years, instead of being in a wheelchair or couch at 70, you're out running and doing a finish line at 70. That's the way I look at it.
And it's not just the physicality of it too. It's the emotional aspect and the mental aspect and the support and everything. So that's cool that you're doing that.
Yeah, exactly. It's good stuff.
I love it. And you're such a great voice. I see you posting on Facebook and encouraging people and giving out information that way too. So I'm gonna tap into that vein a little bit more. So advice to the new athlete. What are some tips and tricks to getting started?
The new athlete. So first of all, have fun.
Yeah.
Definitely have fun, but find your why. Find your why. Why are you doing this? So if you find your why, you could take that with you when it gets hard, when life gets hard, when it hits you down and you just don't want to go out and train anymore. Or if that's your personality, some people want to just train, some people, they don't. So find your why, find why you got into it and just stick with it and go with it and be easy on yourself. Don't go too hard at first. Learn the sport, learn how your body works. Don't try to do too much and listen to your body. Basically.
I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to ask you a tough question. So this may not be easy to answer. Okay. But have you found when someone has a why that is unhealthy? Have you ever met anything like that? Like they're doing this for the wrong reason? Because I've seen people, and myself included, turn triathlon training into a second job, and it wasn't fun anymore. So have you encountered that?
I've done it myself, where I got obsessed with it. Where it's like I said, you change one addiction for another, and then there's a fine line. There's a balance. It's like, how much is this controlling my life? Is Ironman's important to me, and it's a big step, but is it controlling my life? Is there an aspect of if there's something else I should be doing with a loved one or with a family member, is there something else that I could be missing? It happens all the time. I see it all the time. And I see it in different aspects. I see it's not just that they want to train all the time and they're obsessed with performing well. It becomes their persona and it's the only thing they have, which is fine if it's not getting in the way of your personal life.
And affecting the balance of their personal life.
Your personal life and the ones around you. I mean, if everybody else is involved around you and there's no fights, there's no nothing, then it's fine. Other than that, it could become an issue. I see.
That's wonderful that you actually see that and you're attuned to that.
I feel as a coach, you have to, because it's like I get involved in their personal life to a degree, if they let me. If they're the personality that they don't want you, like just give me the workout, you could tell. You do it for a little while, you could tell that there's so many different personalities out there, and you could tell the person. And when you get involved in their life, I try to get my foot in the door a little bit more, and I try to find out what's going on so they could have not just a race performance, but a lifestyle performance, and live well and live good and be healthy and happy,
Hey, I got a follow-up question too, as far as the training. With all the races being canceled, how are you coaching right now in terms of to what end? Are you building their base, maintaining their base? Or are you still, training them for races?
That's a hard one for me, because just like myself, I've had 2020 planned out last year. I bought the races in December, and I spent $1,200, and I had my whole year planned. And this was going to be I wouldn't say my last year for triathlon. I was going to give it a rest because I want to hike the Appalachian Trail. So I was going to give a good goodbye for like 2 or 3 years, and then come back to it. So 2020 was going to be my year. I was going to focus, and then I seen a race coming up. I trained for a little bit, it got canceled. Then I get laid off, and then I shut it down. I ended up doing the things I tell my clients not to. I was on the couch drinking beer and eating Cheetos. So then I was like, okay, wait a minute. Colorado's going to happen. I got to get my act together. And then Colorado didn't happen, and I fell off for another 2 weeks. And I have so many clients that did the same thing with me that, yeah, I'm going to do this race. I'm going to do Pumpkin Man. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do that one. And it's really hard. It's really hard to keep motivated. And I'm in a dilemma too, where it's like, well, what do I do? Do I let him just detrain a little bit, or do I try to keep the base? It was hard because I've never had that.
No, it's a tough question. I think it's new territory for everybody.
Yeah.
No, it is. But you threw something out there, and I caught it. The Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's hopefully after I retire, that's a year. So I want to do it from start to finish, from the south to the north, 2,100, almost 2,200 miles, and I'm hoping for 100 days.
See, that's awesome. I mean, that alone, this COVID-19 year is so hard to navigate. But
yeah.
What I love about having something like that is that that's what's going to keep you going,
Exactly.
and having that carrot out there to
Exactly.
shoot for, because we're all so, orientated towards challenges. And right now our races were our challenges, but take that away, we still got to fill that with something. And it's the lifestyle, but at the same time, having these personal challenges like the Appalachian Trail, I mean, that's fantastic.
Right. And I think I got to put it off for a year because all my 2020 races got deferred to 2021. So because you got to train for Appalachian Trail. I can't just do Ironman and hike, Ironman and hike, Ironman and hike. I have to. The following year will be the year that I'll go be hiking Mount Charleston and everywhere else. So, but yeah, you're exactly right. I have to have that carrot in front of me.
Yeah.
Or else I might be on the couch eating Cheetos.
Well, that's great that you're using that, and you're working with your athletes and showing them how you're doing it, and you're honest about the struggle. And I think that's important. So, because I think we're all struggling, but you're in a good position. What's that?
Some people have done really good. I've seen them on Strava. I follow them on Strava, and they've had the time off. See, it is a choice.
Yeah.
I had the choice when COVID hit and I got laid off, to where I could have really nailed it down and been training like a beast and not have to worry about working a 40-hour week. But then I said, you know what? I've been doing this for 20 years now. I'm going to go and hike. I'm going to go bike, an easy bike on this trail that I've never done before. I'm going to go do this. I'm just going to have fun. So I made a choice to have fun. And then I kind of got a little jealous because I seen some people crunching some numbers. I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was a good choice. It gave me a lot of perspective. So.
No, that's great. All right. So speaking of perspective, you're a coach and you've wanted to get into coaching. Sort of describe what it's like to achieve something yourself as an athlete, which is, you've had a lot of great accomplishments, versus watching one of your athletes achieve what they've wanted to achieve. What we could compare and contrast those two.
So my first marathon, I was the crier. My first marathon that I did, because everybody said you couldn't do it. A lot of people are saying, you can't go into doing something like this. It's impossible. You're not going to do it. And then they gave me times and they gave me a bet. And then when I was at the mile 23, 24, and I was finishing, the tears started coming down my eyes because I knew I was going to beat all those bets, And then I started getting the adrenaline pumping, and then I was towards the finish line. And I think I was doing, at the time, I could only run a 10-minute mile. And then there was a little slight downhill in Catalina. And with the 2 miles left, I started doing like a 650 or something like that. And I was like, you're not done yet. You're not done yet. Slow down. So then I crossed the finish line, and and it was like my greatest achievement of my life was my first marathon. I mean, as lame as that may sound, but to see other people achieve their goals, that's my new beginning. Because there's a few things I have left, a few more carrots I have out there at Appalachian, and Boston has eluded me. I'll admit it. Boston qualifying has eluded me. So I am still chasing that. Those things will inspire me to get out there, but it inspires me more to see the people finish the finish line, to
Yeah.
cross the finish line that didn't think they could do it.
Yeah.
Especially the Ironman finisher, they didn't think they could do it, and they did. So it's just, yeah, it's awesome.
No, I love that. And you're right. I mean, it is neat to help someone achieve the goal that they wanted to. And that's neat that you still can reflect on your beginnings and equate those two. So that's wonderful. Hey, Chip, this has been great to talk with you.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, and actually I love seeing your hiking pictures. I'm very envious that you get up and get out on that side of town doing all those hikes. That's fantastic.
And those are days that could have been focused training.
Yeah,
it is what it is. So
that's right. And but it's a lifestyle, and your lifestyle is active. And I love hearing that in your coaching philosophy of building that base, and that's what you're doing. So you've got a great fitness base, and you can do lots of different things, and that's how you train your athletes to be. So that's really great.
thank you.
This has been fantastic to talk with you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me on. So
Yeah, it's been wonderful. Good talking to you, Chip. Good luck with everything.
you too, Bob. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks,
All right, John.
everybody.